thewellnesscouch.com, streaming wellness into your lives. This is Up for a Chat with Cyndi O'Meara, Carren Smith, and Kim Morrison.
Here we are, up for a chat about the hottest topics that are important to you, inspiring you to awaken the change within. I'm Carren Smith.
I'm Kim Morrison.
And I'm Cyndi O'Meara.
And welcome to today's podcast, where we take you on a bit of a ride. And you know what? I can honestly say it might be an emotional ride today. It's been quite, it's an interesting moment, really. Let's just go there. We're really, really tired. We've just come off the back of a 5-day intensive retreat in Byron Bay, which if you weren't there, you really missed out. But it was absolutely extraordinary. And I was just sitting at the computer as we sat down to do the podcast, and I was just saying to the girls, you know, I don't know if it's because I'm so tired or what's going on, but I'm starting to think, you know, is it really worth it? You know, we go through these phases of totally full on and a huge big high and working really long hours and putting our all into it. And then for me, I come off that and kind of retreat into my cave, go a little bit quiet and question it all. Really, you know, where did I make a difference? And is the world going to be a better place because I was here? Really, what's the purpose of it all? And it's momentary questioning. And I think, you know, today's podcast would possibly give a voice to the way a lot of people feel in different phases of our lives and different times of our lives. And I just happen to be going through one of those phases right now, or I just, you know, I'm tired. I'm tired, and working out how and what to do, and getting a bit of a strategy, I guess, to be able to relate in life and stay in the game all the time. Or is it okay to get out of the game and into the grandstands for a moment to catch a breath? I mean, I don't know. What do you girls think?
Well, I think we all have times like that where we're working so hard, especially when you work for yourself and you're self-employed, because you really do have to keep motivated all the time as to what we're doing. And yeah, I have moments where I go, is it all worth it? Will I just go work for somebody?
Yeah, well, I was going to ask you for a job.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and I often
think we both were.
I've actually driven down the street sometimes, you know, after working for maybe 8 hours on a project or a newsletter or a research project or a report, and I've driven down and I've seen a bus driver and I've gone, I could be a bus driver.
Oh, yeah.
I could be a bus driver.
I could make sandwiches. I could make sandwiches.
Yeah. I could work in a tuck shop.
Yeah.
Maybe not. Maybe not.
But you do. You just, sometimes it just gets overwhelming, and you do feel like that, and you do question, am I making a difference? And especially, you know, the other day I posted something on Facebook and I went down all the comments on it. There were, you know, hundreds of comments, and I got to one and it said, get a life. You know, and is oil on dates really that big a deal?
So your post was about
oil on dates. You know, I didn't want oil on my dates.
And this person told you to get a life because you posted a question about it? Or?
No, what I did was I wanted to do this recipe, and I needed dates, and I went to my usual store to get dates, and she didn't have any. So I just started to go to all the local stores, and I went to 5 stores. Finally ended up going to Woolworths, which I would normally never do. But I knew Macro was there. So I trust Macro. Well, I thought I trusted Macro. And so I picked up, they only had 1 lot of dates left. So here I am at my 5th store. There's 1 lot of dates left. And I think, oh, you know what, I really want to make this. I'm going to go around to the normal aisle and get the dates out of there. But before I pulled the dates up, I flipped it over and looked at the ingredients, and it said palm oil and dates.
Oh, no.
And then I went, you know what, I haven't read what's in Macro. And what did I see? Palm oil and dates.
You're kidding me.
Yeah, it was the same. So I'm looking at it going,
oh, I didn't know that.
No, I didn't either. And I'm looking at it and I'm going, it's the same product, just marketed differently, or, you know, marked differently. And $1.50 difference in price for exactly the same gram for exactly the same food. And so I had a little bit of a conniption about it, as you would. And I posted it. I took photos of it, and I posted it on Facebook. And one person, I remember one person said, "Oh, and you wasted all that petrol, you know, going around looking for dates." And I wrote back. I went, "I have a hybrid. And she says, I don't care what kind of car you've got.
Oh, my.
And I went, well, nothing's going to satisfy her, so it's no point in going any further on that. But the one that said, get a life, I went, oh, maybe I do need to get a life. Maybe this isn't that important.
Maybe, see.
But then I had to break myself out of that because that's just one little thing. And if you do 100 little things, it ends up a big thing. And so my purpose for the Dayton Palms, all of a sudden I went, it's okay. It's not about me getting a life. But you do question your life. You question, am I doing the right thing? And, you know, like what is in that book by, is it Illich, who says at the end of that book,
maybe I got it all wrong.
Maybe I got it all wrong. And maybe we did get it all wrong. Why? Like I was watching today on television and there was this mother who had a vaccine-injured child and a paediatrician. And the mother was asked by the interviewer, well, so what's your degree? And she said, I have an intelligent and analytical mind and I have a passion for this. And I've had loss because of this. And then he says, well, what is your degree? And he says, well, I am this and that, and I'm a paediatrician, and I've been in intensive care, and I've seen... And, you know, I felt for that woman at that point because she'd been degraded as somebody that didn't have a voice. But I think, you know, here I am right now, and I'm going, that issue is never going to be resolved. And she was also asked, well, World Health Organization, the Australian government and the AMA believe that this is what we should be doing for our children. Are they all wrong? And you're right. So here I am, I'm fighting the Heart Foundation, the Diabetic Foundation. And I don't like to say I'm fighting them, I'm opposing them. You know, I don't want to have a war. I just want to, I oppose what they say, the nutritional guidelines. And you kind of go, do they have it all wrong? Are they that silly that they're not getting it? And so you question what you are doing. And then I look at it and I go, but in the natural order of things, it has to be right. So I'm fighting with myself all the time. I have these little chats to myself and going, well, that's what they're saying, but how can that be? Intuitively, it doesn't feel right. All the research I've seen doesn't feel right. And then the other day I posted on the Heart Foundation because there's a new study, a new review that's come out of a major journal. Basically, the author has done a review of all this stuff on fats. And he said, how did saturated fat ever become something that was bad? So that was his question. So I thought, well, I'll ask the Heart Foundation for their opinion. I said, well, here's a new one. Are we changing policies? And theirs was, there's too much other information out there that says the opposite, so no, we won't be changing our policy. So what good am I? You know, I haven't changed anything.
Yeah, but you are such a voice for those of us that don't know who to question that with, or we get bombarded with negativity because we don't have a degree or we don't have the knowledge or we don't have the experience or we're supposedly idiots. And I think sometimes that overwhelmingness comes from feeling like, you know, if you're on top of the world, if you'd had that post on Facebook last week while we were on the retreat, you would have laughed it off and carried on. But the fact that we've come home from the retreat, we're back into life and we're all exhausted, I think it sometimes it hurts or it gets to you, or you just find yourself in a quandary sometimes, and I'm sure many mothers feel this all the time, you know, when they're...
I wonder about that. I mean, mothers would be feeling that level of exhaustion and vulnerability all the time.
And sometimes you don't know why you're crying, or it takes one of your kids to turn around and say, why'd you do that? Or they talk to you rudely, or they say something, and all of a sudden you go into your room and you're a blubbering mess on your floor thinking you're the worst mother in the entire world, you know, because you were short with them, or you've perhaps not got their meal on the table when they were expecting it, or you didn't pick them up on time. You know, I said one thing to my children one day. I picked them up from school. They had no idea of my day, no idea of what I'd been doing to get organised, and I turned up and I was 5 minutes late, you know, and they're like, why are you late? You know, and you sit there sometimes, you go, oh my God.
Yeah.
I have just been running back to back since 4 o'clock this morning. You know,
are there tears in your eyes?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I think there are.
I think it's just, sometimes it just hits you.
Yeah, it does. You know, Kim, you're fighting a huge industry. You know, the cosmetic industry, all of that industry, you're fighting. She's trying not to cry here, by the way, and I'm asking her a question. Karen's getting tissues. We're all doing well here.
But my tissue's used. I don't know what. No, go. No, that one's okay.
But, you know...
Cyndi, don't you cry because I've only got a snotty one.
Okay, that's right. It. I'm doing good. I've got this plastic sandwich here. That's a notepad. You know, you're fighting a huge industry. So not only are you a full-time single mum, I know you've got Danny, but Danny's always away. You are so passionate about teaching people, you know, about this stuff. So, you, like, my children have left home, whereas you've got parenting, and I'll never forget. I'm just trying to let her calm down before I let her speak. I'll never forget, I think all my kids were at home, and I'd done something that I wasn't proud of with my children. I didn't remember what it was, and I rang Kim and I said, that's it. I'm a level 1 soul. I am no better. I haven't learnt anything. I'm nothing, you know. And you do. It just hits you. And you wonder. Humanness. So, how do you feel at times? Do you think, I just think you get tired.
I mean, I wrote a book on this, you know. The back line of it says, overwhelmed, overworked, overtired, over it. And I think sometimes... You know, even Carren today came up to Cyndi and I and said, got a little, what did she call it? She says, I've got a little, about our skin.
Oh, yeah.
What did she say? She
I walked up to them both and I said, right, we need to have a very serious moment together. This moment, what I'm about to say is a game changer.
Game changer, that's right. So we're thinking...
And we go, wow, what are we doing now? We've awakened the change with them. Where are we going with up for a chat? What's going on? And she says, you both got dry skin. Which was amazing. But I think what hit us both and them, what hit me was... Do you know what? I haven't done a mask for 4 weeks. I haven't looked after myself. I'm still doing as much as I can, but it really hit me. That little word, those little words were like, wow.
Oh, this is my fault?
No, never.
But it just
It's
is...
a reminder. We're telling everybody to look after yourselves, and then look at us. The 3 of us are in a bit of a heat today. So, but I think sometimes what's hard when you are out the front and when you are being this voice or trying to help people become better than who they are, sometimes that is a constant daily reminder of, for us, you know, to be that extraordinary selves that we can be. And I think just some days we trip over the step and we fall in a heap, or you can walk past a car and that's the day you happen to hit your shin on the tow bar and all of a sudden the whole world feels really hard. And I think sometimes it's just a little comment or just a little thing that pushes a whole lot of buttons. And I think sometimes it's really nice to actually genuinely ask someone, how are you?
And that's what you did, Kim. It was interesting because we knew something wasn't quite right with Carren, and she was quiet. She's usually a lot more boisterous. And she's very quiet, and Carren just said, are you okay?
Oh, you should see, if you're going to ask me that and wait for the answer, you know you're in trouble.
It's funny, isn't it? But I think that's where girlfriends are so good. But I had a girlfriend yesterday. I was at the rugby. Everything was going on. It was pouring with rain. We were all freezing cold. And she came and sat down next to me. And she was talking and chatting, but she was kind of doing she was waving her arms a bit. And all of a sudden, and then I kind of looked at the corner of her face and I went, are you okay? And she looked at me and she went, no, I'm not.
Oh,
really?
It must be in the air. It must be a phase of the moon right now.
Well, then someone said to me last night at our launch, she said to me, oh my God, look at you. And I went, oh, and she said she said how amazing I was. It was a beautiful comment, but even a beautiful comment made me fall apart. And I just said, I think I'm just really tired. And she goes, no, honey, it's the moon. It's the moon at the moment. So,
well, I posted it on Facebook and I said, I feel like I could run a marathon on the inside, but on the outside, I'm shattered. Like the sun's too bright to look at. I can feel my skin dry. I can't get out of bed before 7:30. I was in bed at 7:15 last night, so I've had a good, 12, 13 hours sleep. Uninterrupted. I don't have children. And I said, am I getting old? Is this just what happens when a person gets old? You feel like you've got energy on the inside, but the body just can't deliver. And if somebody actually posted that there were some sun flares or moon flares that were affecting the planets in different ways, which meant that the people were being affected differently. by it, and they said it will pass. But it's interesting that, you had a girlfriend who said that she wasn't okay. You've been in tears. I've been in tears. Cindy's keeping it together. The dogs have had a little issue this afternoon.
Yes, I did have an issue this afternoon.
I wonder how much of that
plays.
That esoteric influence. I wonder, really, does that have? I mean, it can't not really. I think if the moon affects women's menstrual cycles, that actually states there that the planets definitely affect our way of being.
So when we do question, what are we doing? Why are we here? What's the purpose of our lives? When we do question that, where do we go from there? Like, what is the purpose? We're here for a fleeting second. When you look at the whole clock from the beginning of time to now, and forever, that's going to keep going. And we're just a dot. And this is what gets me, is I think of 7.5 billion people on this planet, and I'm a dot. What influence have we got? Like, we get frustrated with what's happening and, get a life because there's oil on dates.
But it's palm oil.
I know it's palm oil, and it's about, the orangutans, and it's about our health. But I was listening to Barbara Kissinger, I think that's her name. She wrote the Poisonwood Bible. But she also wrote a book. Her and her family retreated for 12 months. And they lived off what they made.
Oh, wow.
They harvested their animals. And she likes to say harvest, not killed. And I was listening to her, and she said, we've forgotten our position in this world. And it is to be love, it is to be kind, it is to nurture, it is to be part of a community and contribute to that community in the best way that you can. But when you're in a community such as, let's say, Australia at the moment, and there is a lot of arguing happening in the healthcare system, and it's opposing sides, how do you nurture? Who do you nurture? Do you find your own little community to nurture and be with and be nurtured? Or do you get out there and fight? Because if we don't fight some of the issues that are happening at the moment, we may lose our freedom of choice as far as our choice of healthcare, as far as our choice whether we choose to vaccinate or not vaccinate, whether we choose to give medications or not give medications. So, when you look at it that way, you go, okay, I'll keep going. But I had this woman email me, and she wants to meet me. She has 5 children, I think. 3 have been injured by vaccination, and she's on a real mission. I had to actually say to her, it's not my mission. My mission is to teach people about food. And we cannot belong to every cause that's out there. We have to become a bit protective of who we endorse, who we help, who we give our money to, who we want to help in our lives. Like, sometimes I just want to gather everybody in and help them, but then I realise I can't do that. Like, I can't gather even the people that were at our retreat. I just wanted to gather them into our lives and help them. But if you speak to every single one of them on a daily basis, you'll exhaust yourself. And we have to keep some stuff for us, I think. We have to keep some sanctuary for ourselves so that we have a place to go to when we're feeling vulnerable like this and feeling that what are we doing? What if, what's the purpose of all this?
I even wonder about these podcasts. It's not, I just think it's the 3 of us having a conversation, and it's not until someone posts something on the Facebook page or I'm even amazed when people come up to us and say, oh my God, it's like travelling with my girlfriends whenever and I'm like, wow, people actually listen. But I think what's amazing, I sat there one day just recently thinking, why are we doing these podcasts? It takes a lot of energy and effort for all of us to get together, to synchronise it, to do it, and is it making a difference? And do people really care? And I know we 3 care. Maybe when we're in these vulnerable places, it's actually the time of questioning that allows us to find our reason. So maybe we shouldn't question the vulnerable times, and maybe they're just as important as the highs of last week, because you actually take the time to question because you're so vulnerable or numb or exhausted. You've got no energy for anything else, maybe. So
You kind of get out of the way.
And that's what retreat's about. Retreat away from your actual life. And that's why we do retreats. And all of us do these retreats, but we're usually the facilitators.
That's it. We don't retreat.
No. And retreat is so important from your life to really address what's important and what's not.
Yeah.
And I know Kim and I have had a conversation just recently, and it was basically about, well, what's important? What do you need to do? Where do you need to go in order to get to where you want? And your kids are important. They're probably number one, Dan and the kids. And the same with us. Your dogs are important.
Oh, they are. If you could see how cute they are.
And my children, if the phone is ringing, I put everything down for my children, or my husband. I do answer that phone all the time, or I'm on the pulse to them all the time. And I guess that's important. But leaving a legacy for them is also very important, and teaching them about what we need to do in our lives and what's important in their lives, and to carry on what we're doing.
I think sometimes it's also about actually acknowledging other people for what they're doing, because sometimes, just having, I think my children sometimes just so take it for granted what we do and how much we do for them. And look, I'm not blaming them for that, because I think when you're in a child's phase of your life, you're in a little bit of an egocentric kind of a phase. But I think just what they don't realise, or perhaps they do, because my children are beautiful at this, and I think yours are, and I think our friendships are, and I think this is what's so beautiful about all of us, is that, even if I may say so myself, but I think what's so beautiful is it's just getting that acknowledgement. Like Taylor said to me, Mum, I see how busy everyone is, and there's some mums that just constantly complain about how busy they are, and you never do. And she goes, and I just know how much you do, and it just means a lot. And I thought, oh you had me at Mum. But those little things, or getting a text from your own mother, or getting a note, or a little love you, or how you're feeling, or sometimes it's those little moments that actually matter more than being on stage in front of a whole people doing a retreat. But what I noticed out of the retreat that happened for all of us is every one of those beautiful people that come to any of our events, those little texts of, you three are with me all the time, or I need a 2CK injection is what I got from one the other day, and I realised the impact we do have. And, last night, for you listeners, we launched our new premises of 28, and Karen's mummy's birthday was on, so she couldn't come, but Cyndi came, and I landed it on her that she was going to be the MC as she arrived. And she just stepped in. She was so gracious and so beautiful, but probably the thing that excited me the most that night was these two women who had been in contact with me, who are known as Organic Sisters, had actually said to me, I said to them, why don't you come tonight? Because they told me how much they love following Cyndi. I said, why don't you come to the launch tonight and you'll meet her. She's going to be there tonight. And they were like, really, really? And they made mountains move. They've got 3 children between them, and somehow they organised families to look after the kids, and they turned up. And at the very end of the evening, I said to them, come on, girls, you want to come and meet Cyndi? And it was like maybe us meeting, I don't know, I don't know if I met Justin Timberlake if I'd stand very still, but anyway, we went, I took them over and they stood there and they even got the giggles and they were going, oh my God, we feel so starstruck, we feel so unbelievable. They couldn't talk. And Cyndi then got almost embarrassed and humbled and blown away, but you don't realise how much of a difference you're making in people's lives until you get those little moments. It's those little moments that actually make the big moments so important.
Yeah, I guess it is. And last night, those 2 girls were just absolutely gorgeous. And what they're doing is they're piggybacking on a lot of the information that I've been teaching them. So what they've done is they've created a beautiful Facebook page. And they're building that Facebook page with recipes. And apparently one of them would make something and they'd go, oh, can we have that recipe? We really like that recipe. So they created this Facebook page in order to share the recipes. But what they're having happen now is a piggyback effect. But what also is happening to them is they're being knocked. They're being knocked. Because their friends are going, oh, what's this? And that's what happens, is that you are knocked, and people want that person that you were, not the new person that you become, and it's hard. Yeah.
But they were amazed at how, vigilant and strong you are, and they love all your words and everything you say, like Carren and I do. We just, every time you post something, we're like, oh, wow, look at this. But I also said to her, yeah, she gets a lot of flack, doesn't she? And they went, oh my God. But she goes, but I get on there and defend her. and I tell them to get a life, and it's quite lovely. There are knockers. There is always going to be people that want to bring you down or knock you or take the wind out of your sails. But when I honestly can say this, when I sit here with you two, I go, wow, doesn't actually matter. If you two are the only two people I was left with the rest of my days, I'd say I'm dying a happy woman, because you feed me, that's what friends and beautiful close family and networks do, is that's what matters. But when we're overwhelmed, we don't see that sometimes, or we don't feel it, or maybe we question who we are as a human being, or not being good enough, or maybe sometimes we just sit there sometimes and think, I could just take a little sleep and not wake up. But I think that's just exhaustion. I really do. I think sometimes we just get tired of, maybe we sometimes get tired of giving as a mum or a friend.
And how my husband Howard, he always says this, do not make a decision when you're tired. And you always say the brain clicks out when you're emotional. What is it? What did you always say?
When emotion is high, intelligence is low. And
I think these times are a time to just maybe retreat and just have a day where you maybe look after yourself, or...
But how do you do that when you're full on running for it? So maybe then you've got to capture moments. What do you do?
Yeah. Look, I'm sitting here listening to you guys, and I think I feel better. Yay! Because it's interesting. I have had a fairly full-on week. Outside of doing the intensive as well, a very dear friend of ours has been diagnosed with leukemia. And on the Friday of the retreat, once we'd finished, on the Saturday, on the Saturday of the retreat, I went around to their house. And his wife, Cyndi, she listens to our podcast. Hello, you gorgeous creature, you. I told you I'd mention you, didn't I? She'll be cracking up laughing now as she hears this. But we sat down and went through just very, very plainly about what her husband was going to go through. And, I think my partner, Matt, he was nervous to have that conversation with them. He didn't really want to go there. He didn't know if he could go there. And I said to him, whatever you do, don't be scared. Don't be frightened to have a conversation with them, because everybody's going to be tiptoeing around on eggshells. They just need to know that there are people there who can be the strength for them when they can't do it themselves. And if you're tiptoeing around the surface of it or the outside of it, they're not going to get that you're going to be that person. So I said, so don't hold back. If you've got a question that you want to ask, if you've got something you want to talk to them about, jump in there, because they need to know you love them, not that you're scared of what they're going to go through. So, as I do, I just walk in all guns blazing, and Cyndi and I sit down and start talking together about it. But what was so beautiful was that both Kim and Cyndi, both you girls, were on standby. And I shot through a series
of texts.
Oh yeah, I got her to show me the medication he was going to go through. I got him to tell me all the things that he's done and the stage that he was at with his leukemia. Shot that straight through to Cyndi, and bang, she was there. She sent me through a 27-page report, told me about what the medication was going to do to him, told me about the different stages of his leukemia and where his body was at with it and how we could support him best, and got on to Kim and said, what was that recipe that was, what I need. She shoots through the recipe within seconds. And I tell you, those two could not believe how quickly you guys were ready to support. They were blown away, like absolutely blown away that two people would just be so ready to jump in their boots and all for people they didn't know, that you didn't know. Like, you don't know who they are,
But they're a friend of yours, and that's important.
But you know what, Kim? You would have done it no matter who it was.
Yeah, you would have.
This is the thing. You would have done it no matter who it was. And Cyndi, it wouldn't matter who it was, you would have done the same thing. That night, we thought that we'd be there for half an hour. We were there for, I don't know, maybe 6 hours. And in the end, I cleaned out their pantry for them. I just followed your footsteps, cleaned out their pantry, downloaded some recipe books onto their iPad for them, went through some recipes, created some recipes, did a shopping list. And then we didn't do it today, but yesterday and the last couple of days, I've just been sending photos of the groceries that I buy, photos of the food that I use to make my porridge, what the porridge looks like, the consistency, different oils, different stuff. Been sending photos through so that she can now so that Cyndi can take all that information and actually make it mean something, because it's a real shock to the system and their poor kids. When I threw the cordial out, the two of them were like, Mum, can I have one last cordial? Can I just have one last cordial? And I couldn't help but giggle, because that was exactly what Matt was like. And then when I got into the car with Matt was really emotional, in that he was so unbelievably grateful. And I'm just getting a bit emotional. But he was so grateful that you two just rushed in to support his best mate and didn't even think twice about it. He was so grateful, and he just said he doesn't know how he could ever thank you. He doesn't know how he could ever be he could ever repay you for what you guys did for them. But the other beautiful thing he said to me in the car was, "Geez, I'm proud of you, hun." Aww. Yeah.
How could he not be?
I was too when I heard she was cleaning the pantry out.
I've learned from the best. I've learned from the best.
You know, this is what I find really difficult, when we question, are we doing the right thing?
You can't question it.
You actually can't, because he's gone to a system. And the system says, you've got leukemia, take these drugs, and that's all we can do for you. Let's hope for the best. And then I think there'll be, have to have some operations probably, and some bone, what do they call it? Bone
marrow transplant.
The bone marrow transplant.
Bone broth.
No, not bone broth, but bone marrow transplant. Yeah, he'll have to have that. And they don't give them any other guidelines. And I believe, and I text this to you, I actually believe cancer is an opportunity for change. And you are where you are because of your choices in life, whether they're mind choices, whether they're what you're putting on your skin, or whether what you're eating. Or whatever it is, it's the choices that got you where you are.
Yeah.
It's not luck.
Yeah.
Or bad luck. It's your choices. So you go to somebody and they say this is what we've got to do, and then they don't give you any changes to make. And I think it's really important that we make change so that we can change the train going down the line that is going to stop at one stage if you don't go left or right, because there's a dead end there. But if you go left, there might be 10 miles or kilometres or 100 kilometres more to do.
Yeah.
Whereas if you go down the track, you've got a mile to go. And that's where life ends. So in my way of thinking, if we can open people's mind to the fact that when they're in a position like that, and even when we're in positions like this, and not necessarily cancer, but cancer of the mind, where we're going, what am I doing?
Yeah,
am I doing the right thing?
Right.
But, I was thinking as you were saying that whole story, and I hope I'm not going over any privacy here, but Carren got a text that was the most amazing text from a woman, and the woman said, I came to Carren to help me get through a divorce, and I left with the man of my dreams. Do you know, that's powerful, Carren. That is so powerful. When I saw that text, and that's what she came to you for support. And I just went, wow, how can you ever question what you're doing?
Do you know,
how can you saved a family. You saved a family, a husband and wife that would have been miserable without each other, children that would have just hated it. You saved them.
You saved them a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
But you also saved so much and gave them hope. And I know we were a little bit part of that, but I look at the way you do things, your whole psychology of things, and it's not the norm. It is so different. And so not only does Kim against what everybody else is doing. And you're so totally different to how you deal with people, to the norm. And I'm different to the norm. And you know what a statistic is? A statistic is that everybody is doing the same thing and getting the same result. And what we three do, and lots of other people, it's not just us.
Yeah.
What we do is we break the mould and we do something different so you can't become a statistic as a divorce statistic, or someone who's got melanoma, or someone who doesn't know, they get cancer or something like that. So while I know we all question, but we really have to then look at, why do we do what we do? We actually do it because we love it, don't we?
I was thinking about you yesterday. I was driving past your factory, your warehouse, and I don't know why you just popped into my mind randomly. But I was thinking about that, and you've always said, because a lot of the time I've said, we do what we do in order to make a difference and to contribute. And you've always said, no, that's not it for me. What's it for me is that I love it. And just yesterday, the day before, well, actually really just yesterday and today, I've kind of been feeling a little flat with myself. And I thought to myself, what's it? What is it for me? Is it because I want to contribute and make a difference? Or is it because I love it? And do you know, Cyndi, I think you've really captured something there that's caused me to go much deeper with the source of why I'm doing what I'm doing and question it even deeper. Because there have been times, and I'm going to be upfront, I don't think so much now, but certainly, 5 years ago or 3 years ago even, I was doing things in order to contribute and to make a difference because I felt I had a debt to pay to society. I never got that. I never realized that. What was driving me all of those years after I came out of the depression was I must make Jodie and Greg's life mean something. I must, or their death mean something. I must make the Bali bombing story have meaning, otherwise everybody that was killed and my survival was futile unless I take the message from it and then go and make a massive difference in the world with it, which is fine and dandy until you got no steam left in your train. It's all well and good until you're absolutely exhausted from the push of that. And I think that in the past years for me, I've had the push of that get behind me. It's been, I've got to do this. This is my debt. It's my price. I must do this. I must do this. This is for society. This is for the world. It must be a better place. And it's going to be a better place because of me.
And it's almost like a punishment.
Well, do you know, I didn't get that. I didn't get it. It was like it was. I thought, and I'm still a bit confused by it, and I'm still trying to work it through. Well, that's not really that important anymore because those things, I'm not doing those things anymore. And what I'm doing now is very much about feeding my soul. And then when I feed my soul, I just share it. And then if it feeds anybody else as well and good. But I think that there's definitely been that part of what drives us to contribute and what drives us to find our purpose is very rarely about us. Most of the time, it's about others. It's about being in service. Now, I never saw that there was anything wrong with that until you stood so fast in saying, I do it because I love it. I don't do it because I want to be in service. I do it because I love it. And I could never reconcile that for myself. I always used to say, yeah, well, she shares it and it still makes a difference. So in a roundabout way, she's getting there. But, I think it really hit me yesterday, whereas I could look back on it and reflect on it and say I wasn't doing it because I loved it. I did it because I was wanting to be in service, and I loved being in service. And being in service doesn't have to kill me in the process, yet what I was doing killed me in the process. And, and this is the part that I think that made me really reflect on it yesterday and today, in that I love what I'm doing, and I think it's the recognition now of what you're talking about. I'm doing it because I love it, not because I'm paying a price, or not because I'm wanting to make a difference in the lives of others, because that always leads to exhaustion. How many people are there in the world?
7.5 billion.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it also struck me yesterday that in 15 years I'm going to be 60. And I went, holy bloody dooly, in 15 years I cannot make a difference to 7 billion people. What am I even trying for? It's like a can't win, don't try. Just give up now. And that really struck me, and I thought I have to get to the bottom of this. I really had to get to the bottom of this because I don't want to, this feeling of overwhelm. This feeling of overwhelm, is it making the difference? Like, is it getting the traction, or is there another way? But when I'm doing it to be in service of everybody else, I think what I'm getting from this conversation, and I think I'm reconciling it for myself right here in front of all of you guys live, is that when I'm doing it in service of everybody else, there's one vital piece missing, and that's me. So if I'm the vital piece missing, I am the instrument. And I must be doing it in service of me. And I know so well that that's true. There's no world out there. There's only my world, the world inside of me. And when I make a difference in my world, then the ripple effect becomes the difference in the world outside.
Beautiful.
And I just, hello, high five, all round.
High five.
High five, all round. Because
And it's true. Oh, I missed you, Kimmy.
but I think that's it. I think that's the answer to the problem. I think I've always had it, or we all have it. We all know this stuff instinctively and intuitively.
And that brings up, that bishop's inscription. And I don't know if I've said it on the podcast before, but I'm going to repeat it because it's what really did it for me. And apparently there's this bishop that lived in the 16th century, and he died, and there's an inscription apparently left on his gravestone, and it says something like this. He said, "When I was young and full of life, I wanted to change the world. But I realised after some time that the world didn't want to change. So I set my sights lower and I started to work on my country. And then after some time, my country didn't want to change either. So I thought, well, I'll work on my community. And I looked around and nobody was changing in my community. So I thought, well, I'll work on my family and friends. And they too didn't want to change. And then I realised if I'd only changed myself, then by example, I may have been able to influence my family and friends. And with their love and support, perhaps we could have influenced a community and then a country and the world. And I think that's the crux of it.
Look at us. With our love and support, we can influence a community. So we've got to go in to go without first.
I think the thing you have to do is something that you love. And that gets you up in the morning. We talked about this a couple of podcasts ago.
We did.
You got to do something that you love, and you have to get you up in the morning. And then when you love and you're an example, people go, "Hey, what are you doing?
How are you doing that?
How are you doing that?" And so you spread the word. And then they start to spread the word, and they spread the word. And like our podcast says, it is a ripple effect that's changing the world. And last night at that opening, Kim expected 30 people. There was 100 plus. I'm sure of it, Kimmy. It just seemed there were people everywhere. I couldn't get a park.
Oh, wow.
I'm the MC and I couldn't get a park. I couldn't get a park. And
Had
I'm
the MC turned up early, she might have.
We won't even go there.
No, don't go there. So, and I looked around, and as I MC'd, I said to people, I said, when I started this 30 years ago, 4 people would come to listen to me talk. And they'd walk out pissed off with me because I was saying they didn't believe me that McDonald's buns never went off and that you could sit them there for 40 years and they'd never go off. And they go, "Oh, I've heard enough." And, and all of a sudden there was 100 people in front of me had come to support the opening of 2 people's businesses. One was Kim's and Stacey's, and the other one was friend Sarah's, which was a food company. And they were part of it. And everybody I spoke to was about, I just heard you, or I heard Kim, or I heard Sarah talk, and I just decided that I'd create this Facebook page and I'll do something with it. So it is about you being a shining example of what you're teaching. That's what it is.
I totally agree with that. Because you can't influence anybody. And see, here's the thing. You said this, Kim, earlier. You said when we're so exhausted and we're so overwhelmed or vulnerable, we really can't think of anything other than what we love or what we're here for, because we're totally out of the way. And, you know, on a normal day, I would say you can't influence anybody, you can't change anything, you can only be an example of possibility for them. Sometimes I just need a dose of my own medicine. But it's true, isn't it? I mean, in the absolute exhaustion, all of the self-talk almost is, it just kind of goes out the window. It's just absent, and all that's left is raw. And if we resist that, we miss the beautiful growth and expansion. Perhaps these moments are for growth and expansion. Maybe this is a way to achieve another level. Through these periods of exhaustion.
Absolutely.
And when we embrace them, stop it.
I know.
When we embrace them and go inside, we find the nugget of gold that takes us to the next step. Stop it.
Shut the front door.
Shut the front door. Cyndi, you're sitting there looking like you know.
No. What I remembered is a conversation we had before we started this podcast, and Carren had got a email, or was it a phone call from America? And this lady had wanted your book, Soul Survivor, and the book didn't make it. And so she rang you, I think, that's right.
Yeah.
And she said, aren't you curious how I figured out, you know, how I found you? And, you know, you said, yes, I'd love to know how did you find me? And she said,
she was in America.
She was in America. So you haven't been to America speaking, have you?
Well, not Sacramento, no.
No. So you haven't been to Sacramento. And she said that she had been meditating and that she'd asked for help for her niece, was it her niece?
Yeah.
Who wasn't doing very well. And she was meditating and she said, please give me a sign as to who I need to go to in order to get the information that will help my daughter.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, niece. And she popped into her head, Soul Survivor.
The word.
The word Soul Survivor. So she went to Google, as we all do. We all go to our search engine, and she typed in Soul Survivor, found Carren Smith, ordered her book.
Amazing.
You know, so you don't know. You know, that was a book you just wrote. You just wrote a book, and this woman has meditation and finds you in the meditation. You just have no idea what we don't know what is happening, not only with our words, but the vibration, as you always talk about, that vibration that is rippling out to the world. We have no idea, and that's the same for people who are thinking bad thoughts or thinking bad things or ugly things. That vibration is still going out there. And I think if we can just realise that there are times where we are vulnerable and not to be hard on ourselves, because that vibration goes out. And what we want is to just go, right, this is a time where I maybe need to meditate. Carren?
Oh my goodness, that just gave me goosebumps.
And maybe it's a time to meditate and to just get from the planet or from the universe as to what it is that we...
What's the message?
What's the message? What's the gift in it? Instead of seeing it as... Oh, I can't do this anymore. And you know, I've done this. I've gone, I can't do this anymore. And I stop it for about a day. I say, I'm not going to go on Facebook anymore.
Oh my God, I did that. I've had it on Facebook for days.
I know. I'm not going to do that, and I'm not going to write, and I'm going to just stop everything. And I get to about the second day, maybe 24 hours, maybe 2 days, and I go, I can't do this.
Bugger that. That's boring. Let's get
is
stuck
me.
into it.
This is what I do. This is what I love. If I'm not doing this, and I realise what I love is I love getting information and spreading it.
I love you.
That's what I love doing, you know. And you're the same.
No, I just love you. No, seriously, I just love you. I love it.
It is.
And they say that we teach what we need to learn the most.
Oh, geez, do I need to learn about food?
But maybe.
God help us all.
Maybe. If you didn't, you'd be a big fat fart that can't just let some help, you know.
Or your BFF.
Yeah.
Your back fat friend.
But here's Carren, who teaches people to meditate and take time out and look at themselves.
No, I don't teach people to take time out. That's your thing.
No, but take time out of their life.
I am the workaholic.
Yeah, but you teach people to take time out of their life to investigate and inquire and look into.
I do.
And I teach people to care for themselves. And, you know, the byline of one of our books was self-care is not selfish, it's essential. And I think there's a fine line here between arrogance and confidence and self-care and selfishness. It's, because some people would turn around and say, oh, for goodness sake, you're just being selfish. There's a judgment around you taking time out, or, if meditation's really important to you, it's like, and yet the kids need feeding. It's a very, but then kids learn the rules that mummy comes out a lot better when she's meditated, so keep her in there, for goodness sake.
She's more civilised.
It's true.
Was there any emotion attached to that for you there, sweet? You got quite, the veins in the side of your neck started to pop out as you said that.
No, but
Actually, Michelle Nielsen, she has a thing where she comes home. This is Dr. Michelle Nielsen, who wrote the book Manifesting Matisse. She comes home and she goes straight to her room and meditates. Because she is a better person, she says, when she does that. That is her ritual. You talk about rituals. That is her ritual, is to have 20 minutes. And, when you have that 20 minutes out and do the meditation, not 20 minutes out, or maybe a meditation is going and reading or doing something like that. But when you take that 20 minutes out, you are a better person when you come out to your kids and you're not grumpy. You know what I do, Kim? I think you'll be really proud of me. When I'm feeling like that, I can't stop my brain. My mind won't stop, and so I can't sit down there and meditate because I'm thinking I should be doing this, I should be doing that. I go have a shower and then I do a body boost. And I find that the oils with the body boost, and for those people who don't know what a body boost is, Kim teaches it. And you've got a YouTube clip, don't you?
Yeah.
You're in the nude, right?
Well, if you just go on to... No, trust me.
No.
If you go onto like chocolateforwomen.com, the body boost video is on there.
Yeah.
But I think before you just said about the bishops in Scripture, and I felt like you were taking a very... macro, was it, like a very macro to micro view. I want to take you from a micro to a macro view, where the other quote that I always say, or that it just resonated so deeply with me. It's just a Chinese proverb, but it comes back to the self first. So, if there is light in the soul, there is beauty in the person. If there's beauty in the person, there is harmony in the home. If there's harmony in the home, there is order in the nation. If there's order in the nation, there is peace in this world.
Oh, beautiful.
So I think you can take a macro or a micro view at it, but I think one of the important things is that you actually realise the impact is massive either way. And that I think if you can really, we've talked about it before, but maybe the times of struggle or challenge, instead of sitting here beating ourselves up and thinking we're useless and worthless and not good enough, or that we're hopeless.
And a level 1 soul.
If we just surrender to it, that sometimes it's actually really important to just cry. Like I said to my girlfriend last night. The one that I said we were sitting there at rugby. And I looked at her and I went, oh my God, darling, are you all right? And she went, no. And she fell apart. And she shared, and she goes, I don't know what's wrong with me lately, Kim. I fall apart. Look at me. And she wouldn't allow herself to let herself go because we were around a whole lot of people and obviously and all that. So then she goes, and I was thinking, gosh, what's happened? And she just said, I saw a man in a wheelchair today, and I just looked at him, and I kept looking at him. And I came away and got in the car and I sobbed and I sobbed and I sobbed. And I said, oh my God, darling. And she goes, and I just wondered how he got in the wheelchair, what his life must be like. Like I went down this whole path of who's this person, and he's just another. And I just look at people and I carry on walking. She goes, but I just got so upset. And I remember my mother-in-law sitting there one day. She was an absolute wreck when I came around. I said, what's wrong? And she said, I've just seen this bag lady. I've gone, what? And she said she was sitting in Simon Street in Auckland in the car waiting for a lady to cross the road. And it was a bag lady. Her hair was gnarled and matted so badly. She had bare feet with heels that were so cracked and worn. And she had a bag, and she'd been trying to pick rubbish out of the bin. And she said she just sobbed and had not stopped sobbing till I got there. And she was just like, what? Where did her life go to get there? And so my question, thinking of both Sandy looking at the bag lady and my girlfriend looking at the wheelchair man, sometimes, where do we go? Is that just a massive amount of compassion and empathy just comes out of us that's triggered when we are fatigued and tired. Like, it's those moments that trigger that emotional outlet. But is that also an opportunity for us to actually be incredibly grateful, A, that we can feel, B, that we can have empathy for other people, and C, like you just said, Carren, that it's actually an opportunity to really look within.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm just sitting here going through the paces of it all. You know, I don't know. I mean, I'm a big believer in that nothing is for nothing, and I really do think that everything has its purpose and its place in life. And if exhaustion didn't have a message in it, we wouldn't get exhaustion. You know, like if exhaustion wasn't purposeful, if being tired wasn't purposeful, we would never get tired. We would just be on all the time. So inside of exhaustion or being tired, there's a purpose to it. There's a meaning in it. There's possibility. And the possibility is never negative. I don't believe that the universe says, there you go, suck it up, you be exhausted, and sucked in, we're going to sit here and look at you and laugh. I don't think that that's the way. We'll laugh. No. Yeah. but I don't think that the universe is set up that way. I think that everything has a possibility and everything has purpose to it. Whether I'm right or I'm not right, it's kind of not relevant. I think while ever we live our lives like that was true, that every experience has a new possibility. Every experience has an opportunity in it. If we can live life like that, we would be milking the gold out of absolutely everything and wouldn't go where I went an hour ago in the context of it not being productive. We would see these moments as opportunities for real productivity, for real expansion, for real connection with the self. Because I tell you one thing for sure, over this last hour, I've felt more connected to myself, my real me, and really in touch with the real me than what I have for the last 5 weeks, because I have been so frantic, so busy, so lost in the day-to-day that the thought of meditating made me rouse on myself, because I thought, you have no time to meditate. If you leave the computer or you step away from the workload, you're going to fall behind. There is no time to meditate. Suck it up, get stuck in, and go for it. So the last 5 weeks, I've been very disconnected from myself because I've had that other side of me pushing to get the workload completed. And, you know, that other side of me, I have to say I am very grateful for it because I met the deadlines. And if I didn't meet the deadlines, it all would have turned very pear-shaped, you know, for me. But I'm very grateful for that. But now that I'm on the other side of it and I don't have to have that same whip and chair out, now it's an opportunity to reconnect back with myself and to be with me again. And I've probably felt more connected to myself in the last hour than I have for the last 5 weeks. And oh my goodness, I'm beautiful.
You're more than that, love.
Oh my goodness,
You know,
I'm
when-
soft. I'm very soft. I'm very soft.
Yeah, we don't see you cry too much.
I think on my tombstone will be, here lays sorbent.
I was thinking, what?
Here lays
Sorbent.
Here lays Carren,
It's a label.
otherwise known as sorbent. Strong but soft.
I think when we're really exhausted, I think what you're saying there, what I just got from what you just said then, is maybe the practice in exhaustion, because it will happen, and
Of
there are
course.
times when we get there, and some of us have it more often than others, and you know, particularly you young mums out there, it's very often. But maybe the thing I've just taken from you there is the practice is not to surrender to exhaustion or surrender to everything, but maybe just practice non-judging, non-judgment of yourself, and really trying to pick yourself up. Not pick yourself up, but pick yourself up if you do go down that path, because that's where we start heading down. We start doubting, we start questioning, we start judging.
Oh, and the judgment, like for me, has come in, and I'm sure mums would be exactly the same. Like yesterday, I was just beside myself, exhausted, and the judgment was, you're not doing this, you're not doing that, you should be doing this, you should be doing that, why aren't you doing this, why aren't you doing that? And then I felt guilt. And I felt responsibility that I wasn't participating in a universe that I know requires 100% participation. And where am I? And
Yet you have no idea, Carren, what you've done. Cyndi and I were talking about it the other day. Just, just even in all the giving you've given over the last 5 weeks and doing what you've done, and yes, you've been on a mission, and I don't think it's that you've been disconnected at all. You've been incredibly plugged in and connected to the work that you're doing. But you have no idea the ripple effect that it's had in the podcast and people like us, and and even conversations I've been having with people around me, if there's any struggle or conversation around questioning it. You're in my head constantly.
It's true.
And I'm checking.
I did get an email from somebody that she referred me to yesterday.
Oh, God, really?
Yeah.
Okay. But I just think I don't know whether to say this on the podcast or not, but sitting here with these two women, I sometimes wonder why the hell I'm here, because these two have so much flippin' knowledge and are so intelligent and so incredible at what you both give that I sometimes sit here and sometimes think maybe I'm just the interviewer or the questioner, because I'm not quite sure I can play on the same level. Yet when I'm really fit and healthy and everything, I think, well, of course they need me. Of course I'm a part of it. But when you're tired, you go into, well, what can I offer? You guys have so much knowledge. You're so flippin' brilliant. Everything that comes out your mouth is amazing.
Well, now what you're saying is true. But let me just say this after saying that. That everything we see in others is a projection of ourselves. So you're sitting there saying we're so flippin' brilliant and we're so intelligent. So you can't know what intelligence looks like unless you possess it. Otherwise, you would not know how to recognise it.
Well, this is right.
Good point. I think it's a very good point.
Let's just go with that.
And I'm actually going to throw back. I'm actually going to throw back to Carren something that she always says to us.
Oh, go.
Yeah.
Give it to me.
You ready?
Go, girlfriend.
Everything is perfect. Otherwise, it would never have happened, because that's perfect. And the fact that you had that little meltdown there and you said, what's the purpose? We wouldn't have done this podcast. And actually, it's been one of the most quiet podcasts I think we've ever done.
It's been quite sombre.
It's been very sombre. But I also think that it will help people who do go into that. Well, it's helped me.
Well, it
really helped me. So we've had our therapy session. We hope you've had yours.
And on that note,
it'll
be $180. Thank you.
180.
Well, for the first 5 minutes.
Oh my gosh, I was going to say. Geez.
And we don't make change.
No, we don't make change. Oh my goodness, that's so funny.
Yeah, I tell you what, to finish this off, Google Bob Newhart, stop it. Just Google Bob Newhart, stop it.
No, it's not Google, it's YouTube.
Yeah, but it'll come up on either.
It'll come up anything.
And it's a 6-minute video with the beautiful Bob Newhart in a psychotherapy or psychology kind of thing. I won't say any more. It's just 6 minutes. And our final line here to all of you is stop it.
Wow. Okay, well, I did say you'd be coming on a ride, so thanks for joining us. We hope that this podcast has been informative, interesting, fascinating perhaps even. We'd love to hear your comments, and we'd love to hear about, when you feel vulnerable or what happens in your life. Please help me to not feel alone.
Us to not feel alone.
Us all to not feel alone.
Us all.
So if you want to post your comments, you can certainly do that on our Up for a Chat Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Up for a Chat. Also, you can post on thewellnesscouch.com/Up for a Chat. So go nuts. Make us feel good about ourselves. That's what we rely on you for. And join us next week on Up for a Chat and be part of the ripple effect that's changing the world. We'll see you then.
This has been a production of TheWellnessCouch.com. Check us out on Facebook and join in the conversation on Facebook.com/TheWellnessCouch. Subscribe to each show on iTunes and check us out on Twitter. The Wellness Couch, streaming wellness into your lives. Whilst the Wellness Couch presenter endeavor to provide accurate and helpful information to their listeners, these podcasts cannot take into account individual circumstances and are not intended to be a substitute for health and medical advice from a qualified health professional. You should always seek the advice of a qualified health professional before acting on any of the information provided by any of the Wellness Couch podcasts.